Okay, so here we are at chapter 18. It's called Gematria, and the exercise is going to be numerically encoding each word in a body of text. And we're going to do that by summing together the ASCII values of each of the characters in the words. Now, we're only going to encode just the alphanumeric characters. We're going to be excluding any sort of punctuation. So we're going to be using regular expressions to get rid of those. And we're going to have to come up with a way to assign a numerical value to each one of those characters. Now, we're going to be using the ASCII values of just the English letters and the numeric numbers that we use in English. So we're going to be getting rid of everything else. But from the tradition where we get this, from the Hebrew tradition, each letter in the Hebrew alphabet is assigned a value according to, there are actually different ways of assigning those values. It's the same in our exercise. We could, if we wanted, just assign A1, B2 and go from there, but we're going to use the ASCII values. Same in where Gematria in the original system from the Hebrew. You can use whatever encoding you want for the letters. We can look at that table. I've actually included a program called ASCII table here where we can look up the values. So for instance, if this program gets the string foobar baz, it's going to break this up into words. And so the word foo is going to be 324. And that comes from looking up the lowercase f here, which we see is the value 102. And then O is going to be repeated twice, so 111 plus 111 plus 102 should equal 324. And same with bar, we're going to add the values for B, A, and R, and then B, A, and Z, and that's how we're going to get this number, these numbers. We're going to do the same thing by reading the input from a file, like the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So thinking about our string diagram, we're getting some text and we're going to be outputting some numbers. So we're essentially encoding, encrypting even our incoming text. Now obviously it's not a very good encryption because several words could encrypt to the same numeric value. So we couldn't really go backwards out of this, but you know, it's kind of fun to think about. So for instance, foobar baz is going to output 324, 309, 317, and if we read this input fox, we're going to get these numbers out. We're going to be learning about the ord and char functions, or character functions. I think that this is going to lead to a much greater understanding of things like regular expressions and how strings are sorted by their numeric values. So we're going to really explore the ASCII table, and that's going to help us understand the character ranges that we've been using to define character classes in our previous regular expressions. We're going to use regular expressions. We're going to use the sub function to substitute things that we don't want, like punctuation. We're going to replace that with the empty string. And then we're going to look at map, which is one of my favorite functions in all of Python, and we're going to understand how we can use map with a lambda to create an anonymous function, or we can just use an existing function and we can get rid of the lambda altogether. We're going to use the sum function to add all those numbers together for a given word, and we're going to understand how that relates to the reduce function, so that we can reduce any list of values to a single value. And then we're going to wind up with understanding how we can do case insensitive sorting of strings. So that's what we're going to be doing. Stick with me.